Qlik Dork back again, and today, my friends, I'm going to be offering you my suggestions as to why I think you're probably going to want to augment your generative AI solutions by using Qlik in order to ask the questions. I want you to understand, I know up front, that is just one of many questions you probably have on your mind, and I'm going to get you other resources like why are you trying to use AI anyway? What are the right cases where AI fits and generative AI may not fit? I also want you to know that Qlik does also offer some natural language processing NLP solutions called Qlik Insight Advisor. And I'm going to give you my use cases as to why I think you may want to use that. I also know you're going to be trying to figure out what are the right cases for generative AI. But again, today I'm going to focus on my solutions as to why I think you want to augment your generative AI by calling it from within Qlik. There's two big reasons that are pretty distinctly different. One is that I have for years said that there is a huge win-win-win-win-win when you combine visuals with a story, with text. I want to give you a couple of examples for that. The two biggest things is that human eyes see patterns that text might miss. One use case that I found recently was this, when I was analyzing data from transactions, shipments from vendors. The red dots are shipments that were shipped late. One of the green dots is shipments that were on time. The darker green is shipments that were early. Now, when I look at that, I can see a lot of red dots, I can see a lot of green dots. When I asked for it from generative AI, I got a lot of statistical information about percentages late, which vendor had more shipments late. But what it missed was the pattern, and your eyes can pick this up. So in this distribution plot, my eyes quickly ascertain, hey, my late shipments are always over 1K. That's a huge win that my eyes can see that statistics miss. However, that's not the only scenario. My brain can be tricked. You've seen hundreds of variations of these optical illusions where some people look at it and immediately see a candlestick. Wow, I've got this beautiful gold candlestick, yay! Well, other people's brain looks at that and sees these two faces looking at each other. They don't see a candlestick. The candlestick is the background. The more of these you do, you realize your brain can be tricked, and once you've picked up on one or the other, it's very difficult to see both. And that's where generative AI can help you. When I'm looking at it visually, I may see one thing, but some natural language is going to give me more statistical information and make me realize there is a candlestick and there are two faces, both. The other bigger one to me, I think, and this is where I'm going to spend a lot of the time today, is the context is the area I'm going to focus my attention most today is that context is king. I've been saying this for years. I'm going to give you an illustration here. Maybe the question your end user wants to ask is, how are we doing? It may be, how are we doing today? Maybe, how are we doing this month, this year? But they want to know how we're doing, right? They're not analysts. They're just posing a question. Well, if they pose that question to me as their trusted advisor, there are many areas of context that I'm going to use that I natively have this ability to answer in my head. One is role. Who are they? Because it's important. I need to know what their permissions are. Should I even share certain things with them, or should I keep them to myself? I need to know, you're asking me how we're doing, but compared to what? And time is also a big factor here. If I think about roles, there's a lot of different people that could be posing this question to me. If it's Bob the Big Cheese, right? He's some executive. I know he wants a 30,000 foot view of the data. And so with Qlik, I can pass the data in an aggregated form instead of a raw form, because he just needs to know numbers at a big global level. Whereas if I get the question from Dalton, the data dork, he wants all of the nitties and the gritties, right? And if Mary Middle Manager asks me, I may need to roll this aggregates up to maybe 2, 3, 4 dimensions for her to be able to comprehend. But she doesn't want all the nitty and the gritty. So that granularity and whether I determine whether I'm going to aggregate it or send it low level through Qlik is going to depend on the role. And with Qlik, I can answer that by knowing who the people are, the user that's asking the question. The other big thing is permissions. And the great thing about Qlik is it already automatically handles row level security as well as column level security and row and column security. So when Bob the Big Cheese asks the question, depending on what Bob is allowed to see through section access, we already have the right data for Bob. We can't pass it data that Bob isn't supposed to see. The other thing is compared to what? Do I want to have this compared to our goal, the one that we set at the beginning of the year that's on our KPIs, or in this situation, are you really asking for this year, this month, this quarter versus last? I also may want to compare it to a forecast. Well, what forecast am I going to be talking about? Is it the Salesforce forecast where all of our account managers have put in what they believe is going to close? Or am I comparing this to some AI prediction? Well, those are things I need to know. And maybe based on those roles, we pass different values for this. So that Bob the Big Cheese may compare it to one thing, whereas Mary Middle Manager may need to be comparing it to something different. The other one is time. As a human analyst, if my sales VP comes to me and says, hey, how are we doing? And it's January 15th. I know he's trying to figure out territory planning. Do we have account managers in place for all of our different territories and customers? But if he asked me that exact same question on June 31st, I know he's looking for some quarter end data as to how we're going to close out the quarter. Right? Or he may be looking for how we're going to close out the quarter, and we're trying to get some pipeline ideas here. Do we have the pipeline that's going to help us finish out the year successful? If that same question comes to me on December 31st, guess what? We only need to know, are we going to hit our year-end numbers? Right? We don't care about territory planning. We don't care about account managers at this point. We need to know, are we going to close on these numbers? The other part of time, and it's not related to the days, it's the timeliness. If that question comes to me on December 31st, but I'm looking at December 15th's data, that's not a really good thing. I do not want my answers to come back looking at old data. The beautiful thing about going through Qlik to augment that generative AI solution is we're already doing the change data capture for you. We've got your data fresh. It's right up to the minute within the application. So as I pass that data out along with the question, you are getting answers based on fresh data. Well, I hope these cases help you understand or maybe rethink as you're looking at your journey to generative AI. You probably need to think about these things and consider augmenting your generative AI solution by passing the questions and the data through Qlik. Hope that you have a great day.